Hey Rock Board members, it's time for another financial literacy video. Let's talk about keeping tabs on the number of occupied and vacant lots in your community. Your Rock is a business that needs customers. In fact, in the case of your business of managing a manufactured housing community, it's best that all the spaces your community is permitted to have are filled with lot rent paying co-op members. The more occupied lots you have, the easier it is to spread the cost of operating your community around, which keeps lot rents lower. Let's consider some examples to see just how important reducing vacancies and increasing occupancy is. Say there's a Rock that's permitted to have 50 total lots where lot rents are $300 a month. Suppose that one lot just became vacant and now there are 49 occupied lots. If this Rock doesn't quickly act to fill this vacancy, that's $3,600 the co-op will lose in income over a year. If the Rock needs this $3,600 to pay for its expenses, it can either get the lot rented to raise the money or raise lot rents on the 49 occupied households. If the Rock with 49 occupied homes has to increase lot rents to raise the $3,600 over a year here, that's about $6 per lot per month extra each of the 49 households has to pay. Quickly identifying and filling the vacancy here would spare 49 families a $6 increase in their lot rents. Vacancies are even more important to monitor if your Rock is smaller. Take a 25 lot community where lots are $300 a month and where there's one vacancy. That's also $3,600 in lost income to the co-op over the year, like in the first example. But in this case, if the co-op tried to replace this lost income with a rent increase on the 24 occupied homes, that'd be almost $13 per lot per month extra that each household would have to pay. Keeping an eye on vacancies is a crucial part of monitoring your Rock's financial health for this reason. If your co-op is doing a stellar job collecting on past due rents, but isn't also monitoring and acting on vacancies, you might wind up in a situation where lot rents might have to go up where it otherwise could have been avoided. Now, doing the actual work of filling vacant lots could be its own video or video series and is beyond the scope of this financial literacy video. Suffice it to say for now that Rocks around the country are employing a lot of tools and strategies such as building strong relationships with manufactured housing dealers and real estate brokers who can help line the co-op up with new buyers, marketing lots on sites like Craigslist, MH Village, MHBay.com, using social media to market, using their local paper, on their own Rock website, and some Rocks even list available sites on signs featured prominently near the front of their community. What this video can help you do is to use your financials as a tool to quickly identify existing vacancies and to spot potential vacancies so you can plan ahead and make the job of actually filling sites a little less stressful. To start, one of your reports that you're probably already used to seeing every month, your profit and loss budget versus actual report, already provides you with some crucial information about vacancies. Let's take a look at an actual co-op's report. First, take a look at the column that shows the Rock's actual income for the month. It's broken down into lot rent income and other income, which is other money that the co-op earns throughout the month beyond its core business of leasing lots. It's really important to be aware that when it says there's $20,747 of actual lot rent income for the month, that this isn't totaling up how many people in the Rock have actually paid for the month. In other words, the income side of the profit and loss report is not a tool for tracking and managing unpaid lot rent. To understand who hasn't paid rent, there's a separate report we use called the Accounts Receivable or AR Aging Summary, and I'll put a link to a video I made all on how to use this report and the all-important task of tracking and managing past due rent in the description to this video below. So what is the income side of this profit and loss report here showing, and how is it useful? What this report is doing is totaling up how much the co-op has charged to residents in lot rent this month. In other words, this report is adding up the bills that have been sent out to all the occupied lots in the community for the month. Vacant lots are not included in this total here because there's no one to bill in that case. This means that you can use the profit and loss report to quickly calculate how many occupied lots you have. And if you know what the total number of lots available overall in your community is, you can calculate how many vacancies you have too. Let's try this with this co-op's financials. All right, to start, I know that this co-op has 64 total sites. You should, to do this, know how many total sites your co-op has available. Secondly, you can see here that the lot rent's broken down into a member amount and a non-member amount. That's because this co-op charges two different rates for their members and their non-members. I know that the member rent per month is $323, and I know that the non-member rent per month is $338. So then it's just a matter of whipping out a calculator here, and you can see for the members, there's 58 occupied member sites for the month of May. For the non-members, you can see just by using a calculator, there's 6 occupied sites. In total, when you add up the members and the non-members, the 6 and the 58, you have 64 billed lots, which equals the amount of available lots, which means there are no vacancies as of May. And not only that, I know how many members and non-members I have to boot. Now, if you don't want to use a calculator or you want to have a better understanding of the backstory behind the numbers, you might recall from some of the other videos from this series that you can always get much more detail from everything that's on the profit and loss report by going to the general ledger. So let's go to that right now and take a look. All right, the general ledger is a really long report. So what I usually do to find information that relates to what's on the profit and loss report is go to the last page of the general ledger, like here, and you'll see all the expense categories down to every single item that's an expense to the co-op will be listed on this report. And so you go through the expenses and you'll scroll up, and after the expenses you'll see the income categories just like they're presented on the profit and loss. And so here you can see the non-member lot rent amounts and the individual charges to the individual non-members. The names in your financial reports would show up here, probably the lot numbers too. I removed them for making this video. But you can see exactly the charges that correspond to the total non-member lot rent amount there. And then above, all the member income is presented here, and it would be itemized by each lot that's being charged rent for the month, the amounts they're charged, and then the total amount for the member lot rent, just like it shows up on the profit and loss report here. You can use this to tell a much more detailed story. This is essentially a rent roll that you're getting every single month in your financials, and it's a powerful tool to have for managing vacancies and just for general information. Okay, here we are back at the profit and loss budget versus actual report. The next thing you'll want to know how to do and keep an eye out for, and that you can pull off of this report, is information on your co-op's vacancy budget. The vacancy budget exists to avoid getting into a situation similar to what I described at the beginning of the video, where a vacancy suddenly popping up in your community leads to an unexpected lot rent increase for everyone else. What you'll want to do to avoid that from happening, and your lender will most likely require you to do, is to actually budget for that happening. You can get a better handle on what's going on here by looking at the budget column of this report. You can see that after budgeting for the member lot rent income here and the non-member lot rent income here, the co-op's subtracting out $80.75 every month, or multiplied by 12, $969 over the course of the year to be lost for a potential vacancy. And then it's factoring in what its expenses are and doing all its other budgeting, assuming the co-op's going to lose this $969 to a vacancy. $969 for this co-op is about 3 months worth of lot rent for one lot. So it's assuming that one lot might come offline and that the co-op would have the ability to get it back online paying rent again after 3 months, which is a pretty aggressive time frame. But for this co-op, the history and the circumstances make it make sense. We can confirm this number of 969 for the year, of course, which breaks down into 8075 by taking a peek at their actual budget. And yep, by looking at the income tab of this co-op's budget, we can confirm what we just pulled off of the profit and loss report, which is that this co-op's reserving one lot being taken offline for 3 months, amounting to $969 over the year for a vacancy. This isn't very much of a buffer, but the amount that you put in your co-op's budget will depend on factors like how many vacancies have popped up or are likely to pop up recently, how quickly your rock has filled vacancies in the past, and how quickly homes in your co-op sell in general. Since this co-op hasn't had a vacancy in recent years, and since homes move very, very quickly there, this rock was able to keep their vacancy budget rather small. Whatever the case may be with your co-op, be sure to be aware of what your vacancy budget currently is by either looking at your budget or looking at that vacancy budget line on your profit and loss report, and then to see how you're actually doing in terms of build lot rents in comparison to that budget, which we'll take a peek at next. To see whether your co-op is living up to its vacancy budget or not, go to the profit and loss budget versus actual report and look at the total rental income line. If the actual build lot rents for the month are greater than the budgeted amounts, which factor in that reduction for a vacancy, then your co-op is beating its budget. And in the case of this co-op, the co-op's beating its budget for the month, and we can also do the same and look at the year-to-date budget versus actual report and see that it's beating its budget for the year-to-date as well. This is a sign that this co-op could probably keep using its light vacancy budget. If your rock is consistently underperforming in comparison to its budget here, then it's a pretty good sign that you're going to need to increase the amount you budget for vacancies moving forward. And it's also a sign that it's time to get to work filling lots. Lastly, let's talk about keeping an eye out for potential vacancies. One thing you should be on the lookout for is homes that have the potential to be abandoned. This can happen when homes are on the older side and are in pretty poor condition. Homeowners here are in a tough situation where their home has little to no value and where upgrading the home is either too expensive or simply not feasible given its condition. When this is the case, homeowners might stop paying lot rent and might even wind up leaving the community and abandoning the home altogether. In these unfortunate cases, the rock then has to go through a legal process to take possession of the home and then has to take on the cost of demolishing the home to prepare the site to be filled with a new home. This can be quite costly and take a lot of time. The place in your financials to try to spot these potential cases as early as possible is your list of unpaid rents, your AR aging summary report, which I cover in much more detail in the video I'm linking in the description below on managing past due lot rents. Granted, most people who fall behind in rent and show up on the AR aging summary report are willing and eventually able to get caught back up again and stay in regular touch with the property manager to work out a plan to get on the right track. However, if there's someone who starts showing up on the AR aging summary report who isn't responding to property management and their home looks like it is in pretty poor condition from the street, this home could run the risk of being abandoned in the somewhat near future. In these cases, I recommend that someone on your board or from property management try their best to make contact and put this homeowner in touch with any home repair grants and resources that might be available in your area. Some towns and states even have good home replacement programs available that the homeowner is probably not even aware of. I've actually been able to work with some rocks to prevent homes from being abandoned in this way, and you should talk to your TA provider for ideas about resources if you're worried about a potentially abandoned home in your rock. However, the worst case, an abandoned home does occasionally come to pass. If this happens, you should work with your attorney, your property manager, and your TA provider to move quickly to take possession of the home and to get it demolished. Every month that passes here costs the co-op more in lost income. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks so much, and until the next one, rock on.